I'm Ryan,
And I'm Nick.
and you're listening to Going Offsides, presented by the Lacrosse Collective on the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Going Offsides Lacrosse Podcast. Today we sit down with Garrett Wimberly, former head coach at St. Ambrose University and currently in charge of product development for True Sports Lacrosse Division. We discuss his coaching background, True Sports, what the PLL and MLL will look like this summer, and where to get True Lacrosse products. Yeah, so how'd you get your start in coaching?
Yeah, so my start in coaching kind of started high school. I formerly played at. There was an opening, and the team had really kind of never been great. I actually left another high school to help start this high school that I graduated from. So it was always a building process, and they had that opening, and I decided to go over there and test the waters. And that year, actually, we made it to the state championship, and kind of rode that high, and then went over and decided to kind of take over at the University of Memphis club team where I also played at, and had just such a blast there. Moved us from NCLA to NCLL, started having winning seasons, and that just kind of snowballed. And I always knew that I wanted to help grow the game back home in Memphis, and to really kind of started to notice if I wanted to do that, I kind of needed to leave Memphis for a little while and find my way back at a later date. And that's what I did. I went and coached at VMI for a season, learned a lot there under Coach Bersner. And then that led to me getting the head coaching job at St. Ambrose University for the men's and women's programs. And from there, that's where I found my way back to Memphis, opening with True Sports, working on the kind of product side of lacrosse, kind of a different realm, and back home here, and really kind of growing the game from more from an organizational standpoint, helping teams, get the gear they need, making sure players have the right equipment, not just here in Memphis, but it's kind of spread nationally and globally. It's been a fun ride.
Awesome. And so what was it like going from coaching, Memphis or in VMI to then going to St. Ambrose?
Yeah, it was kind of I tried to instill a lot of the same mentality and work ethic and that kind of culture that we had at VMI. It's a unique place, Virginia Military Institute. So I tried to bring that to Ambrose because it was a struggling program. It had only been around for 3 years. That group of seniors I had that first year were going to be the first seniors to graduate. So we wanted to give them something that they could look back and be proud of. And from an organizational standpoint, from how we ran practices and game day operations, we tried to keep it the same. But obviously it was at the NAI level, so it was a different type of playing environment. We had some great strides that first year. It was a big culture shock for me, kind of coming over and stepping into that legit varsity head coaching role, but had a great support staff, and the players really embraced what we were doing, and it's continuing now that I've actually stepped away. The team had their first ever year as a academic All-American team, so I'm super proud that they were able to make that accomplish even after I left the program.
Yeah, that's awesome. So working at True, that's got to be a complete 360 or 180 from working as a head coach.
Yeah, it has been. It's a grind. I mean, so coming from Ambrose, obviously coaching both men's and women's, I was always on the move, always traveling. Obviously recruiting for 2 programs, having to bounce back and forth for practices. So, having that kind of lifestyle before stepping into this role was good experience because it's allowed me to kind of have my hand in a lot of different operations. We're a small group of people here at True. It's kind of a rebranding is what we're calling it, True 2.0. So, kind of bringing that coaching lifestyle over has helped me, have the success I've had at True. But also, it's also helped as well, getting in touch with coaches, finding out what's popular out there with product. what do guys like about those gloves? What do guys, what's the big trend in heads and stringing, and what's great with handles right now? What are we seeing on the field? That having those connections with coaches have been a huge plus for us to really kind of relaunch the brand and kind of take it to that next level with what we're hoping to do here in back end of 2020 and 2021.
So being like one of the, I don't want to say newer, but maybe less developed lacrosse brands out there compared to, Warrior, Brine, STX. Have you felt any kind of friction or pushback when trying to enter the market?
Not necessarily. I mean, so True really kind of launched lacrosse back in 2012. And, I even remember being in Memphis. I mean, obviously the headquarters is here. You would think there'd be a huge following here, but there really isn't. I remember guys coming and giving us free handles, prototypes, things like that, but I never really gravitated towards True as a brand until I came here and actually interviewed and learned more about the company in itself. I mean, the company's been around for over 100 years making, golf shafts. The number one manufacturer of golf shafts in the world is True Temper Golf. So having that as the backbone of the company was huge. And yeah, when you go out, you say, oh, we work for True. 9 times out of 10, we get mistaken for the club travel program. And that is not us. We're not affiliated with them.
Yeah.
But we get that a lot. And that's kind of our big fight. But once we, we're a part of True Temper, the golf shaft manufacturer. Mm-hmm. Our hockey division is skyrocketing. We just launched baseball. So the big hurdle has been jumping through the hoops of trying to educate that we're not True Lacrosse Club. We are True Temper Sports or True Sports, and making sure people know that, we've got everything from handles and heads and you name it, protective gloves. We've got everything. And people really don't know that, we actually started as OEM where we were making all the handles for STX and Epic and Warrior years and years ago. And, the company decided, let's just slap True on the side. Let's start making our own stuff. Why do we have to make everything for our competitors? And that's right. Really kind of where it originally blossomed. And now it's just with this new group here in town, it's going to be rebranding and relaunching as True 2.0 and getting new refresher product out there.
It's so funny you say that because my wife always asks me, are you talking about the club team or are you talking about that guy at the lacrosse company? And I'm like, okay, for now on, if I say True Sports, it's the lacrosse company. And if I just say True, it's just the travel team. Because, in the Midwest, we have a big True presence for the club team. So even my wife was like, which one are you talking about? I was like, no. The sports company, they make all the golf shafts in the world pretty much. Like everyone on tour has them. So she's like, okay, thank you for clearing that up. So yeah, I can imagine that they've had a foothold for a while in the lacrosse space just by the name. So that could be a little bit of an issue for people that don't know. Now, that being said, you do have some incredible athletes that work with your brand. So who are some of the cooler athletes that you get to work with?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of right off the bat, obviously, the big name is John Grant Jr. He's, our main athlete that we really focus on and put a lot of effort into. And from my standpoint, being able to go and, shoot Junior a text or get him on the phone and talk about product is amazing. I mean, the guy's got just a wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's been playing, forever. I mean, was in the first year of the Major League Lacrosse, and now he's going to play in the 20th season. I mean, that is unreal for find a player who's done that. We got Dylan Maltz, who played for Maryland. He plays for the PLL Whip Snakes. We've got Eli Gobrich, who plays for the Archers in the PLL. Mikey Schlosser plays with Junior on the Outlaws. Working with these guys and, on different things. Mikey really helps us on string, coming up with all these great patterns for our strung heads. Working with Junior, I've been working with Junior on a box line of equipment right now, which is going to be, great for us. We're getting into the MLL. We sponsored them last season with handles, and we're looking to kind of nudge ourselves into that market a little bit more with protective and different things like that. Working with Dylan on, protective stuff with padding and gloves, different things like that. It's been great. It's awesome to have that feedback from these guys. Going out and traveling and seeing them is great, and having those relationships has been a lot of fun. But from my standpoint, again, it's great from just the product side and getting their feedback. There's one thing Junior told me when, we were sitting in his living room, going over the new line plan and what we were coming out with. He had mentioned to me all of his years working with all the companies he's been with, he's never had a product guy come to him, sit down, and let's work on a product together that, he trusts. It's always been, hey, here's the head. We're going to, call it the Junior head or whatever. And, he just never really, thought of himself as that kind of athlete. He wants to be involved and be able to use a product that he, helped develop. And, that's what we're trying to do. That's what all of our sports are trying to do with hockey and baseball and golf. That's what we've always kind of done over the years. So having that feedback has been huge from my standpoint.
Hey man, just in terms of it's phenomenal having Junior involved and everything like that. Do you see that this might be just a natural evolution to see more and more products, in the college game? Maybe get some deals with some of the Division I programs, Division II, III, NAIA. I mean, it seems like that's probably the next evolution for you guys as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. That's kind of our next thing. We are kind of officially launching a bunch of team products here in the next couple months. So we're really looking forward to that. I mean, that is kind of our next step, is really approaching some Division I programs, grabbing some Division II, NAI, D3. We work well with the Division III program here in town, Rhodes College, high-level program. I mean, they were top 15 and could have made a Final Four run this year if the season didn't get canceled. Now, let me tell you, they had some talent. So we use them as a great, testing ground and, getting product in their hands, but also using them as a marketing platform, as well as, hopefully some of these other programs we look to launch here in the future on the team sales side to really get product out there and, again, test it, make sure it's great product, but also use them again as a marketing platform for, getting our name out there and making sure we're taking that next step to, like you said, the evolution of the brand. That's kind of what we're looking at.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys are making the right moves. It seems a little bit more thought out, methodical than some of the other brands that just kind of rush into some things, try to make it stick. I also really appreciate, it sounds like you're going from an athlete's perspective first instead of engineering first, and then kind of working with what the end product should be from the user's perspective, instead of just like, here's what the math says is good, here's what's worked in the past. Maybe that doesn't work out every time. Maybe that's why some heads completely flop, because the athletes had no say in the development of them. So I think you guys are definitely going about it the right way.
Yeah, that I would say that is and again, that comes from golf, years and years of developing golf shafts with all these athletes. I mean, Tiger Woods, Bubba Wall, all these guys, they use our true shafts, and the golf brand has been great in using them to develop the next best great thing. And we've just kind of segued that into the Lacrosse brand. And I mean, we've got some things up the pipeline that I really can't get into, but I mean, there's going to be some things that are going to kind of be, that future of the game. We're looking at what is that next thing that could, make or break lacrosse and take it to the next level. We're always kind of keeping our eye on that and what's the future look like and where are we going. And we want to be that brand that kind of sets the tone for innovation in the lacrosse realm. So we're really hoping to launch some product in that kind of territory here in the future.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm interested. So what do we have to do? I saw this on your website. What do Ryan and I have to do to make our podcast, staff here, product development testers? I saw there's a place to sign up online, but how do we go about getting involved in that?
Oh, so that's just really for kind of like kids. We are big on testing product. If you want to sign up online, our marketing guy will contact you, and we'll get you, our new great head or handle that's coming out. Our last true tester program was with the Vector head that launched in May. Great success so far. Everything has been just such positive feedback on this thing. And again, that was the one category that we really needed to get a handle So we got it out to about 20, 25, maybe even about 30 or 40 of kind of people on social media that had great influence, great tester, kind of feedback. We don't just want to give it out to somebody and some kid respond with, hey, this was a good head. I liked it. I like the scoop on it. Well, what did you like about that? What was it that was better than, say, this head over here? That's the kind of feedback we were looking for. Lars, Sidewall Jedi, was giving us amazing feedback. I mean, that guy is just a guru when it comes to, lacrosse gear. So having that feedback was great. But for y'all's standpoint, if y'all wanted some gear, you just shoot me a text and we'll get you the latest, greatest thing. I've got a batch of some heads that just arrived from overseas yesterday. And man, let me tell you, this thing is going to take over. This was the one that Junior and I worked on together. And it got to a point where I took the first 3D to Junior, and he just was ripping it apart. He said, oh, we got to do this. We got to change this. This has got to be here. And of course, you listen. I mean, he's John Grant Jr. He knows what he's talking about. And we sent him a sample, and he is just drooling at the mouth. He's like, so can I use this next week in MLL? We were like, well, not yet. Pump your brakes.
That's the last thing you need is the break in the first game.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
It'll be like a Nike shoe contract all over again.
Yeah, so I mean, we will seed it. I do think this new head. I do think Dylan Moss will use it in the PLL, but I'm not sure. I mean, Junior's he's got a target on his back. He's just going to have so many guys coming at him hard and wanting to break his spirits and break his handles, break anything they can to stop him. But you're not going to stop him, but they'll try as much as they can.
Good luck with that. If it didn't work last year, it's not going to work this year.
No, not at all. And let me tell you, I was at that MLL championship last year, and those Outlaw boys are out for blood. They are. It's unfinished business for them. They were very upset after that game. That locker room, you could hear a pin drop. So they're coming after it this year.
Well, we looked at those rosters. I mean, it's going to be them and the Bayhawks. I mean, it's just looking at those rosters. It's like those two teams and everybody else. So I think it all sets up.
Yeah, and those are two teams we have all of our pro athletes on. I mean, IDA is on the Bayhawks. Nick Manis is on the Bayhawks. Those are two guys that are with us. Ryan Tucker used to be with us, but he retired this year. He would have been on the roster with them. But that was such a fun game to go to last year, that championship, because I knew whoever won, I'm going to go get to celebrate in the locker room with somebody.
There you go.
So it was
one way or another.
Experience through. And again, that's what we're hoping again this year. It's going to be Outlaws Bayhawks. Weisserman could do some work up there with the Cannons. We'll see what he can do. He's on that squad this year. The Hammerheads got a great goalie, so we'll see what they can do with Sean and Cage. But it'll be a fun season. I'm actually extremely excited to see what they put on what product we see on the field this year from the MLL.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the interesting leg up of they're going to be playing first, so that'll be really nice to warm up with some MLL stuff before the PLL show goes on TV, because we all know that will be a show for sure, just from a production standpoint. So I'm very excited. I actually spoke to Pat Harbison this morning to work on a Lax All-Stars article, and he was chomping at the bit. It was unique that he had to, he almost didn't go because of work, and his boss told him, like, go do it. You should go do it. And I was like, that's such a unique, where else in pro sports do conversations like that happen? So I'm pretty excited to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's going to be unique too, man. I mean, at the same time, like they really do have a chance of showing a model, like through all this COVID stuff, like this can work, like sports can work. It's going to be really awesome. And then like with the PLL, they're filling that time slot that was going to have, like, it was going to be the Olympics time slot. So it's going to be awesome. Like lacrosse is going to have a lot of coverage, even though, it's not, ideal circumstances. Like they're going to be able to slide in, and it's going to be a really good showcase for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to be getting some other pro sports back, but it sounds like baseball may be up in the air. Hockey's now kind of pushed back till August. So the only kind of ticket on will be, for a whole 2.5 weeks straight, it's going to be lacrosse, whether it's MLL or PLL. So it's going to be exciting. Guys are going to start. I think kids are going to start to learn guys' names this year. Last year for PLL was kind of the first year of getting its feet wet, and you know, a lot of the guys in MLL, yeah, they're unknown names, but this is the year for them to make a name for themselves, and I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on it. So I think we're going to see a lot of kids start to, you know, buy some jerseys, have some names on their backs, and have guys they start looking up to again, which I think over the last couple of years we've been missing in lacrosse. We've been missing that kind of, you know, side of the sport that, you know, NBA and NFL has. And I think we've got a group of guys now that can really take the reins and lead us into that next kind of generation of lacrosse.
Well, when I asked Pat what he was going to miss most about, you know, this new format compared to last year, he mentioned he just will miss the fan engagement. Obviously there's no fans, but what he really appreciated was that because of the setup, and I compared it to a festival or like a world championship where it's just constant lacrosse back to back to back. He said that what excites him about that is that from a media perspective, for like a week and a half, 2 weeks straight, people are just going to see so much concentrated lacrosse, you know, sometimes 3 games in a day, that you could accidentally watch lacrosse. Whereas like in the past, you've had to go search out a game. Like you need to know the exact channel and time that it's on. Now you flip on your TV on NBC or NBC Sports anytime during those 2 weeks, you're probably going to see a lacrosse game, a lacrosse highlight. So he was very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got PLL's grabbing hold of NBC, which is got a great sports following and some loyal fans on their, you know, the app. And then obviously the MLL is going to be on ESPN, which is still number one. So, I mean, they both have perfect platforms for what's going to come in the next couple of weeks. So I'm pumped. I know everybody at True's pumped. Let's get rolling with it.
Yeah. And I think the PLL only has 4 games after I saw it behind a paywall. So I don't need to get NBC Sports Gold anytime soon. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I was a little worried that too much was going to be behind a paywall, but they managed to get that taken care of. So.
I think that's the smartest thing they could probably do.
I mean, the time slots are open, right? There's no new TV right now, so why wouldn't you fill that with some kind of sports?
Well, yeah, they'll obviously have some NASCAR races, but besides that, I mean, yeah, there's nothing to fill that slot. I mean,
well, and then you add the sports betting into that as well. I mean, it's crazy too. I mean, those guys, they want stuff to bet on, as crazy.
Dude,
as
I would
it
watch
sounds.
curling right now if it was on TV. Like I need something to do.
That's what we were actually talking about. Is there may be a lot of guys that end up broke here in the next couple of weeks because they're just those guys that love sports betting and they may not know anything about lacrosse. So they're just going to throw some money around and see what happens. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch how the line set up and different things.
And they're going to bet on these guys that, I mean, one thing that I will say the PLL has done, and it kind of goes to what you were saying before, they've done a tremendous job with branding. Like they're branding their individual players and they're doing a really good job of it. So I think at this point too, like you're going to get to what you were speaking about before. Like you're going to see these guys that are going to be the face of the league that kids are going to know. They're going to be wearing their jerseys and you're going to see them kind of on a bigger stage because they have the ability to reach more people because of kind of the COVID situation and how things are shaking out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Garrett, you guys currently make shafts. You have a couple heads, right? Do you do women's equipment? I think I saw a little bit of women's on the website.
Yeah. So women's lacrosse has really kind of been a focal point of mine. Going over to Ambrose and starting to coach women's lacrosse, I'd coached, some girls' high school stuff here and there. That's where I kind of really started to learn that, this is a totally different sport. I mean, this is the game of lacrosse, but this is, just on a different level. It's totally different. So when I got to Ambrose, I really started to dive in, making sure that we were going to have the best women's program we could have. And I really just fell in love with it. I mean, it's so fundamental. And I always kind of say, if you give me a men's roster and you give me 2-3 studs, I'd go out and win some games. You can't do that in women's lacrosse. You really have to have a full team, from attack to midfielders, to defense, to goalies, to backups. You've got to have, a full squad to be able to be successful in women's lacrosse. And coming over to True, I saw, hey, we've got one head, the prowess. It's a great head. It does well. We've got really good shafts. I mean, our women's shafts are insane. When we put it in coaches' hands and players' hands, they go crazy over our handles. So I kind of told Tom, our GM, that, hey, we really need to put a focus on women's lacrosse. STX does a great job. And I'll be honest, Brian has been historically, big in women's lacrosse. De Beer was huge years ago. But there's a lot of companies that just all their focus is on the men's side of the game. They just really put all that marketing effort, all that research into the men's side, whereas I think that's what STX does great about women's lacrosse. They just have a lot of effort and support backing their women's brand, and that's why they're obviously the number one brand. So we kind of want to take that step and be that next women's brand. We have a new head we're working on right now. One of our professional athletes, Christina Esposito, she played at Northwestern. She's been great feedback. I mean, Kristen Marshall, she won 2-time, 4-time winner. She's one of our athletes as well. So we get great feedback from both of them on, handles, heads, other product that we're working on down the pipe. But to, utilize those athletes, again, just like we do the men's athletes, to be able to have that next great best thing. And how do we market? How do we get it into the right players' hands? Starting at the college level, feeding down to high school, into youth. We want to make sure that we are a brand on the women's side that is, treating those, female athletes just as well, if not better than we are on the men's side. And again, that's just STX has done just a great job of that. I got to give them a ton of credit for that. We want to, again, be that brand that kind of does that as well. Just really focuses on both sides of the sport, men's and women's, and not just focus on one or the other.
So Garrett, if people want to get their hands on True, you obviously don't sell direct. So where would someone go to get some product?
Yeah, so True is one of the only brands right now that is not going direct, and we do that because we have great relationships with our retailers. So if anyone wants, True gear, check out your local, retail spot. LU, Lacrosse Monkey, Universal, Tamilax up in the Midwest. Anywhere where you've got a mom and pop shop, you're going to find True gear. And we're there because we want to support local lacrosse. We want to support local retail shops to help grow the game at the grassroots level. So that's really been our focus with True. So if you want a new True head handle, those are the places you can go check it out.
That's it for another episode of Going Offsides, presented by the Lacrosse Collective. Please follow us at Lax Collective on Twitter or go to our website, thelacrossecollective.com. Stay tuned for more episodes.